We used to go to the library and he would take out the book and we know thank you and you're welcome. We know a couple basics.
Well, when Austin was little, I heard about, signing your baby. So we did sign language with him and we did it with Hillary. And, so we had basic things and, Austin kind of made up his own, like, for Austin this was dog. Because we would always go to the shop. So to him that was dog and more and milk and, but yeah, I've just been inspired. I think I'm going to take the sign language master class.
I know people who travel internationally a lot, they'll learn the international sign language, and almost in every hotel and area or restaurant, there's someone who knows it or can translate for you, and then you can communicate basically. I know people who travel all over the world just knowing the international sign language.
I know some international sign language.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I bet you do.
When I was watching
there we go.
at the beginning of the inauguration, the service member stood up there and she signed the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey Mark, can you hear us now?
Intersections.
All right, good.
I wasn't using my headphones, but now I can hear you with the headphones.
There you go. Looks good.
That's all right. I do that all the time for work.
These are my son's games, all gaming. So here.
You do
I hope that sent out an email the other day asking,
too much. You think about it like a person.
now that with teams and stuff, I guess they sent out everyone a headset. And they asked if I wanted
It's so convenient.
a wired or wireless headset.
I used to do this
I'm thinking, I hope if it's wireless, I can hook it up to the Bluetooth.
25 years ago.
I set it up. I think Mark already did it.
These kind of meetings.
The outside door, Mark, did you open the outside door?
Yeah. Oh, did I?
Did you unlock the outside door?
Yeah, stuff
I did not
we had
unlock
in
it, but I
We used to
can.
do
Can
it.
you unlock it?
You know, we used to.
Yeah, that unlocks it
They'd sit in
there.
their
Just
board
fob it
room, I'd sit in
twice.
our board room.
Yeah, when we do this, we can unlock it. That's why we lock this
25 years
door.
ago.
Okay, good.
Now it's quite different.
Yep. Let me know when we're on.
Oh, we're on.
We're on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we're ready.
geez, Louise, I'm like leaning back and all like lounging.
Just make sure you.
Hey, how are you? Good, thanks.
Wait, I'm missing out.
He's
He's
on
coming.
mine.
Oh, okay.
Where I spotted it.
Oh, I got it. Give me the file, I don't have mine.
Oh, he's trying to unlock. It's tricky.
She's got it.
Well, last night, apparently, they didn't get it all. And I left the meeting early.
Eric, can you grab the sign sheet?
Wait, one more time.
Wait,
Yeah.
okay.
He's getting extra candy tonight. I'm off the door, he's picking up. She-
Thank you. All right, you ready, Eric? Yes. All right, I would like to call to order the January 26, 2021 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Council President Zink,
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Williams. Here. Councilperson Fitzgerald,
Here.
Councilperson Stevens,
Here.
Councilperson Littner,
Here.
Councilperson Burghardt,
Here.
Mayor Lutz.
Here.
All right, please let the record reflect, we have Chief Brommer is also on the line, as well as Kyle Lutz. No one from the ministerium, please rise for a moment of solemn reflection. Mayor, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive information sessions at 6:30 p.m. this evening, January 26th. Council met for an information session to receive information-only items from the manager and solicitor. Do you have any additions, deletions, or reorganization needed of the agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as advertised?
So moved.
And a second. Second. I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Leonard to approve the agenda as published. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Citizen comment non-agenda items. Mr. Schober, yours is on the agenda item for Pleasant Avenue, correct?
Correct.
All right. So we have none of those. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for January 12, 2021?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, a second by Councilperson Brevard, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for January 12, 2021. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve the Harb meeting minutes for December 22nd, 2020?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Leonard to approve the Harb meeting minutes for December 22nd, 2020. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, and the reason we had to do that is because that's the last meeting we presided over. We can't have the new board approve our minutes, so we had to make sure we got those in. All right, next we have a presentation of the annual report for Susquehanna Heritage Management of Columbia Crossing. Take it away, who?
All right, actually Mark's going to kick us off. But can everybody see the PowerPoint screen on the TV?
We got it.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Oh, and we will post this on the website.
Yeah, when you're done, we'll have this on the website tomorrow for you.
Yeah, I have a PDF version, and then we also have the annual report in a digital format on the Susquehanna Heritage website, which you can also post.
Perfect.
Okay, hey, thank you all. It's the oddest meeting I've ever had with Borough Council. But, thanks for the opportunity to present our annual report on the operation of Columbia Crossing tonight. This is our 5th annual report, so this is kind of amazing. We've completed our 5th year of managing the center. We appreciate the opportunity to do this virtually tonight with all the COVID conditions and restrictions, so we appreciate the Borough Council providing that opportunity. I'm joined tonight by Hope Byers, our Crossing Director, who can wave, right? And I think our board chair, Walt Rowan, if he hasn't joined us, he soon will be. Walt, are you in there anywhere? I'm not sure I'm seeing everybody. Okay, he emailed me just a few minutes ago saying, when should he join? I said, now. So, I'll be doing some introductory remarks on the finances, and Hope's going to review things, and then Walt's going to wrap up with a few comments. Walt is of course, our chair of our board of directors, owner of Susquehanna Glass, right there in Columbia. We're all people persons, so we'd rather be there in person so with you all. but we'll do our best to present information, and I think probably best to take any questions at the end when we get through everything. Hope's going to manage the PowerPoint presentation for us here. You know, the uncertainty of COVID, you know, the uncertainty of COVID is a big part of our annual report for the past year. Dealing with COVID seems to be everything we talk about these days. And it sure has affected everything we do at Columbia Crossing, everything we do at the National Heritage Area. But we hope you'll see that it hasn't really beat us. And with the help of the rest of the world and medical advances and our own perseverance, we think we'll get to 2021. I'm going to review the finances of our management at Columbia Crossing briefly. Hope has the budget up there now, I see, the 2020 and 2021 budget. You know, we manage the facility for the borough according to terms of the professional services agreement that I think we just completed we're completing the third year of, and it runs through March of 2023. After I review the finances, so going to review the fun stuff, programs and visitor services. I guess it's fun even in a COVID year. And review the program services and how we pivoted through this year to deal with issues and still provide a service to the public. And then we'll all wrap up with some closing comments, and I see you all has joined now. So thanks. Yes, I'm on the phone, Mark. Okay, you're on my phone. Okay. Hi, yeah. Can you see the rest of us or see the presentation?
No, I don't have to go to meeting on my cell phone, so I'm just listening.
Okay, we'll cue you when I was just sharing that I'm going to do the finance overview. Hope's going to review programs, and then we'll wrap up with your closing comments.
I heard that, so that's fine.
Okay, great, thanks. So that's our plan. I'll start with the overview of the 2020 and 2021 budgets in a brief way. Again, everything was impacted by COVID, both bad and good in some ways. On the bullet on the left, are the main points I'd like to cover tonight. You know, because of COVID and the building being closed, I think it was 103 days we were closed through the year. And the various restrictions on gatherings and things. The biggest impact, a negative impact, was the loss of earned income. You know, Hope and the team at Columbia Crossing has done a really good job over the last few years building up facility rental as an income source and building up program revenue and merchandise sales to help pay for the cost of running the facility. So that took a big hit this year. You know, that was the biggest negative impact. I think, by my notes, you know, about a $7,500 reduction in net income over what we had budgeted and what we anticipated. And we were literally looking forward to growing that source of income. However, we were able to offset that almost entirely, actually entirely, and with PPP, the Payroll Protection Program loans that came out of the CARES Act. As soon as that came out, we as an organization sought a PPP loan, went through M&T Bank, which is one of our two main banks we work with. We got approved for that. We were able to allocate $16,000 towards payroll costs at Columbia Crossing for 8 weeks in 2020. All that was forgiven at the end of the year. So that doesn't have to be paid back. And so that was a big help. And in addition to that, Lancaster County used CARES Act funding that they received to provide recovery grants. And we were able to secure grants in both rounds of that grant program. That included, I think it was just under $9,000 in the first round that helped pay for retrofitting costs and equipment, the trail kiosk that went up outside while the building was closed so we could help guide visitors. And so that was a big help. And then we also were approved for the second round, which was based on loss of earned income, and received $10,000 that came in just after this month, just after the beginning of 2021, for a total of about $29,000 from Lancaster County. So those were big helps to the bottom line at Columbia Crossing. Internally, we also placed a hold on all hiring for our organization, including the program coordinator at Columbia Crossing. We cut costs in other ways, and obviously just in having a more restricted way of operating, it also reduced a lot of costs. So we were able to reduce expenditures for the year by 26% for the entire year at Columbia Crossing. And we actually were able to increase revenues by 4%, mainly because of those recovery programs. So that end result of all that was we built up a good reserve going into the uncertainty of 2021 and even beyond maybe. So we've been able to increase the reserve to $130,000 at the end of 2020. We're hoping to maintain that through 2021 to ensure, because of uncertainty going forward, and even carry us into 2022. And that really results that extra income from the PPP program in Langston County and the cutting of expenses and holding back on hiring. So our 2021 budget, and this is similar impacts to our whole organization. I mean, we did similar things for the whole organization at the Zimmerman Center, our management things, and held off hiring. So 3 new positions we had budgeted for. Our 2021 budget assumes some return to normal sometime this year, but likely not till I'd say that, I think most people are thinking the third quarter, mid-late summer, maybe in the early fall. So we still have lower earned income from programs, merchandise sales, facility rentals, going to be down. That's actually about 5,500 under budget for 2021, under what we normally would have had. But we do think we can do some of that and start earning more income. And we think that we plan to hire the program coordinator in the spring so that we can start up some programs with appropriate COVID restrictions things, a lot of outdoor things, cattle programs. And we expect to really by the fall to have a robust fall season. So this budget is planned to accommodate back up to almost normal functioning through 2020, but still retaining reserves for the uncertainties that we're not sure about. As of course, as in 2020, we'll be there to host thousands of locals, visitors who flock to the river. I tell you, Columbia was at the epicenter of people seeking the outdoors this year. I'm sure you all know that in town, that thousands of people flock to the river for recreation, for parks, trails, Northwest River Trail. We'll talk about that. We saw it all around the river corridor, saw it elsewhere in the heritage area. I think we all found that true value of all this work everybody's been doing for a couple of days. Preserving land, making trails, improving access, creating facilities like Columbia Crossing. Imagine if Columbia Crossing, the Northwest River Trail, and our parks and preserves were not there last year. Imagine the loss of people's connection to outdoors and the ability to get away from this crazy world we've been living in. It's funny, maybe we were all planning for this day. I'm not sure. But we expect to be there again in 2021 for everyone. And as I transition to Hope for a review of visitor services and programs, I want to just point out that, I don't know if you all know it, but Hope Wire is a fantastic director at Columbia Crossing. We hired her 5 years ago. I thought she was a little brash, a little overconfident. She showed me that it was all warranted and worthy. So Hope has really helped us weather this year, both as a managing Columbia Crossing, but also as an organization. Stepped in a lot of ways to help us get through it and get better. And we expect that to continue. And Megan Salvatore is our visitor services representative. 2 of them have held down the fort, during online stuff when we were closed and in-person stuff when we were open. plan for, well, we did plan for it. We made the right, plan for the right team to be at Columbia Crossing when COVID hit. And we look forward to really moving into a robust year going ahead. And I'll turn things over to Hope now with that introduction.
That was quite an introduction. I'm a little embarrassed, but okay. So, I'm going to talk about the programs and services on the inside of the annual report packet that you have. I covered the COVID impact, and I'm just going to say quickly something that Mark already mentioned. We're closed for 103 visitor days. Our visitation is normally around 20,000 people inside of the building. This year it was 10,972. We had a lot of people who were on purpose staying outside. I think a lot of us were doing that, right? We didn't want to go inside. If we were going out for recreation, it was to be outside. But what we did see is an enormous increase on the Northwest River Trail usage. The counter on the Northwest River Trail was the battery was dead for 2 months. We have to order new ones from Europe. So we actually, this is only 175,000 plus trips is only 10 months of the year. And I really say, at first we were just trying to figure out how to deal with that. Mark Severs knows we were closed down in the first month we were closed down. I spent like 4 work days finding cedar and acrylic and building an outdoor kiosk for in the park. Because I just knew we were going to have to find a new way to direct people into downtown and find a new way to direct people onto the Northwest River Trail when nobody was there. And then we put up banners to make sure that people were parking in their correct locations and they could find the trail without getting lost. And so we were still trying to do as much as we could to make Columbia visitor friendly, even when we couldn't be there in person because of the restrictions. So there was a big impact, but it shifted some of our focus. If we were normally doing programs and events, we started thinking about the community. What does the community need and how can we help them, even if we're not greeting every person that's coming to town? What can we do as far as planning for the future when things get back to normal? And then what are these stories that we're really telling, and how can we still get these stories to people? So I'm going to just cover the 3 of them briefly. They're in your pocket in really detailed explanation. We also have blog posts we did for every project. So that's on the News Heritage News section has all of those. So these are some of the community partnerships and the projects we worked on. The reusable water bottle project, the school district is really in the toughest position out of all of us, right? To have these kids come back, what do we do with them? What are we allowed to give them, feed them, let them drink, talk? And so one of the things they were really looking for was reusable water bottles. And we love working with West Loma. They love working with riverfront communities, and so we made water bottles with pictures. Maybe I also have one. Here's this wonderful word cluster I designed so that you have a reminder of the river, your responsibility to be a steward for the river whenever you have the water bottle. There were 500 of these given to students at Columbia School District, and then there was another 500 that are available for purchase down at Columbia River Park at the Crossing Complex. So I thought, I come left. But the point is, for every water bottle somebody buys, there was one that was given to a kid right here in the local community, which we think is pretty awesome. And then the bucket list, of course, Pam and Fran know about this project. This was actually Fran's idea, I think. She sent us an email that this is some cool thing that Carlisle does, and we jumped on it. It was so much fun to create a list. Megan Salvatore, Visitor Services rep, she's a Columbia girl, grew up on North 2nd Street. She started the hustle to get around town and those businesses to get them engaged, and she is back at it again already. We're going to do a 2021 bucket list, and then we're also probably going to expand and do like a spring and a fall for Marietta or Wrightsville. So we started this complex to kind of build out this regional best activities to get people into our businesses. And then at the fall season, when we thought we weren't going to be able to do any work in Columbia River Park because of cancellations in the spring, we really quick had an opportunity to do this project at Columbia River Park, do the loop trail, put the mulch in, thanks to Jake and the highway department. but we had to get some funding together quick. I think we had 4 weeks before outdoor tour was coming. So we did an online campaign, and we were able to raise money thanks to the Columbia Park Rangers, to Mountain Kreiser, to the Columbia Foresters of America. And then we had donors online who just had used River Park during the pandemic and really wanted to see it expand. And so we were able to pay for that outdoor tour project with absolutely no taxpayer dollars, which was really great. And then moving on to regional planning, I'm going to slide through this, but it's actually one of the most important things we do. I believe very strongly that putting Columbia Crossing in a position where it is a hub for visitor services, tourism, and the expertise of the experiences that can be had in our riverfront communities, we are setting Columbia up to be a hub for all of those things. And so working on projects that might affect the river park, could affect Columbia Borough, or could affect our river corridor are really important. I'll just mention the Discover Lancaster Board. I joined that this year. They are under a new executive director who's from Valley Forge, who's very interested in thinking holistically about Lancaster County tourism. And he has already visited. I know he was down with, I believe Mark Beckers was with him at one point. And he's ready to start thinking about this holistic view. So I'm making sure that Columbia stays in that conversation. But we're also working on the smallest of levels. We've been more involved with the local businesses. Recently joined the Merchants Association board. I think I'm the secretary now. Sometimes you just get suckered into things. But I'm super excited to work for them. And with them, I think it's going to be really helpful for our bucket list project, for big community events, to make sure what we do is helping all of our businesses downtown. And then for heritage storytelling, we had to find a new way to deliver all of these stories that I have been eagerly telling to toddlers and tadpole time, and I have been doing in lecture series and exhibits. And so what we did is we took our art exhibits online. We changed our schedule the minute we were closed, started putting our art online, especially with Diana Thomas and Mick Williams featuring Columbia and the riverfront. And then we worked really hard with the local amateur historian Smoker. We got a new exhibit. It's exactly going to stay up to August. I'm going to talk about it in a report again next year. It's a really fun exhibit about hunting, fishing, and trapping. And we're going to do some outdoor lectures on that. And then we did a digital initiative. I started thinking, what can we tell people they can find on their own? So we have downloadable Google Maps that have heritage information about the Northern Trail, about haunted history and legends in our community for October. And we're thinking about expanding that to other trails or to our communities. So just do one on Columbia specifically, for example. So these are the kind of ways that we're thinking. These worked well, and they're not going away. We can continue to offer these as accessible, self-guided storytelling adventures and heritage adventures, even if we're back to normal with our regular programming. So you'll see that stuff like our River Roots blog is still continuing. I just did one on the shad wars in Columbia, so if any of you don't know about that, go read about it. There was a cannon involved. It's super cool. Anyway. The 2021 Park budget, it's a back to normal when we can. So we're excited to relaunch our youth program. We're excited to get kids back, whether it's for our canoe mobile or tadpole time. And the other thing that's new this year that we really want to harness is all those folks that found the river, who found recreation that they appreciated. We want to keep them engaged. So we want to expand our recreational classes. We want to expand our outdoor exercise classes. And we've set up and modeled a program to engage businesses, whether it's a yoga business or whether it's mountain, to do more on outside exercise or introductory recreation classes. So that those folks who tried out the trail during the pandemic can come back. And then I also mentioned this already, but really supporting local businesses. They've been hit really hard. It's going to be a tough time for them to get back, and we want to continue to be the cheerleader for our downtown so that Columbia's downtown can stay intact, come back, and thrive. So thinking about how to engage our merchants in every project that we do is something that me and Megan have really taken on as an important aspect of the 2021 project. So that's what we've been up to. I know it's not normally what I talk about. There's like no little kid pictures. There's no canoeing pictures. But they're coming back. Like, well, next year, I promise we'll see them again. So I'll just kick it to Walt now, so I can talk a little bit about how we are about the that is all.
Thank you both. Yeah, I'll try to keep my remarks very short. I want to focus on basically 2 or 3 things. The first thing I want to focus on is that as a business entity, the Columbia Crossing that is part of the Columbia community's investment in its community is alive and thriving even during this whole pandemic. The Susquehanna National Heritage Area Organization is an amazingly complex, interconnected organization that has funding resources across a broad range of government and private funding sources. And, you know, this year, for all of us, has been a year of complete instability in so many things, uncertainties in so many things about our lives. But one of the things I want to make sure Columbia Borough understands is that the financing and the organizational strength of the Susquehanna National Heritage Area that is the managing partner for Columbia Crossing is strong and thriving. Secondly, as you can just see from the presentation that Mark and Hope have given, it's not just strong, it's thriving and flourishing. One of the things, second thing I wanted to talk about is 2 years ago we were talking about doing boat tours. Last year we really started holding, actually the year before we were holding boat tours, and last year the boat tours continued. They were started over at the Zimmerman Center and went all throughout the Lake Clark area. One of our goals has always been to connect through the river, the Lancaster County side with the York side, and connect for us as a Susquehanna National Heritage Area, our Zimmerman Center and the Columbia Crossing Center. So we have successfully run the boat tours now for 2 years. We are going to be starting again this year with the same type of tour that we started last year, but we have been planning and expect to increase the size of the boat tours because we're looking to buy a larger boat and we can actually start to charge for tours. But in that process of expanding the boat tours and increasing the size of the boat, the third phase of that is to at some point create a boat shuttle between the Columbia Crossing and the Zimmerman Center. So I think that for us inside the National Heritage Organization is a really exciting opportunity to finally pull Lancaster and York, Columbia and Marietta, the 2 sides of the river together, which is going to create an enormous economic opportunity for everybody. So that's just something that we're in the process of doing. And I want to now talk as a Columbia business owner. Columbia is finally, even during the year of the COVID virus, continuing to move towards becoming, a really important destination for Lancaster County tourism and for Lancaster County and York County recreation. And because of your investment in the location and the building of Columbia Crossings and your decision to allow the National Heritage Area organization to manage this facility. And so many of the other components that have fallen into place. I think all of us who have investments in Columbia understand how valuable, important, and how much opportunity we see in the future of not just the Northwest Trail, the Columbia Crossing, and overall tourism and economic development of Columbia. And I'm just so thrilled to be a part of what is, in a sense, the back end of the management structure that makes sure that that dream and that reality is continuing to move forward and becoming stronger and stronger. So I just want to thank Borough Council and everybody in the Columbia organization for their support of what Hope and Mark and the whole organization behind the Department of National Heritage is doing for the river and for all of us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark and Walt. I can take any questions now, or if you guys, as a council and a staff, have any questions about the annual report you received, you can feel free to email me later too.
Good.
We're good?
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
Good night.
Say thank you. Good night.
All right. Next, Mayor Lutz, you have a proclamation for us.
Yes, I have a proclamation to read this evening. And I've done this every year for the past 20 years. Usually when I read this proclamation for Catholic Schools Week, we have several of the students from Our Lady of the Angels with us, and I'm able to present the proclamation to them. Because of the COVID-19 restrictions and all, we felt it best not to do that tonight. I will deliver the proclamation to them hopefully tomorrow. But let me read that proclamation tonight. And it reads, whereas since 1974, National Catholic Schools Week is the annual celebration of Catholic education in the United States. And whereas it starts the last Sunday in January and runs all week, which in 2021 is January 31st through February 6th. And whereas the theme for the National Catholic Schools Week 2021 is Catholic Schools, Faith, Excellence, Service. And whereas Catholic schools have been an important part of education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for nearly 200 years. And whereas Catholic schools have been an important part of the education process in Columbia Borough, and whereas Our Lady of the Angels Catholic School provides quality education for many of Columbia's elementary school-age children, and whereas Our Lady of the Angels Catholic School teaches students a strong sense of values, morals, and community service combined with a solid academic education, and whereas the Borough of Columbia has been the beneficiary of the gifts of time and talent from many active citizens who are graduates of the Columbia Catholic school system, it is important that we acknowledge the contributions that Our Ladies of the Angels Catholic School has made to the quality of life in our borough. So now, therefore, I, Leo Lutz, Mayor of the Borough of Columbia, do hereby proclaim January 31st through February 6th, 2021 as Catholic Schools Week in the Borough of Columbia. Now, with that, I have one other item I want to talk about, and it's COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccine. Right now, the plans are changing almost daily. They're at times vague, but I want to talk about that a bit tonight to give folks some idea of what we know is happening, and also letting them know that as things develop, we will get that information out to our residents as best we can with our social media platforms that we have, and also get with the school district so that they can put it on theirs too, and try to get this stuff out the best we can. Our goal is that every person in Columbia who wants to is able to receive the vaccine. That you hear this used a lot of times, but this is important, that no one gets left behind. That I would say is our goal in the COVID-19 vaccine. There are places where residents now can sign up to receive COVID vaccine. And as I understand it, there are several of our large organizations, such as Family First Health and Lancaster General Hospital, are formulating plans to administer the COVID-19 vaccine. Family First Health, we met with them last week, and we still have some more work to do with them, but they are going, as they get the vaccine, and let me pause a second. One of the biggest problems right now is getting the vaccine to the places to distribute it to the folks. And we ran into a problem today where by computer, the Medicare system was probably crashed, I'll say. Folks probably know those terms better than I, but they couldn't get on the system to log things in. But anyhow, Family First Health is, when they get the vaccine, they are going to be contacting their patients and scheduling appointments for their patients. Family First Health also expressed to me that they are receiving new patients. So the first round with Family First Health will be to their patients. And you can become one of their patients and get involved in that. Afterwards, we're trying to put plans together. We don't know how the vaccine will roll, but if possible, there may be some additional opportunities to residents through Family First. The Lancaster General Hospital, as they get the vaccines, they will be distributed to their primary care physicians. So if you have a primary care physician that's associated with the Lancaster General and Penn Medicine health system, if you contact your primary care physician, you will be guided on to what to do. And I understand as they get the vaccines and distribute it, they will be contacting their patients to receive the vaccine. Along with that, Lancaster General Health is looking to create some pop-up centers. And obviously, Mark and I were real quick to jump on it and say, you want to have a pop-up center or even a couple pop-up centers, come to Columbia and we'll do whatever we can to help you out. So those plans are being formulated, and if they do come to fruition, we will get that information out. Let me also say that the residents at Susquehanna Valley Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, they have all received the vaccine. The Constant Care residents at St. John's Her Estate have all received the vaccine. And I know that through word of mouth, some of their residents in the apartments and the cottages are finding ways to get hooked up with someone who's a provider or their primary care physician. So our big concern is those folks who live in the high rises, and Mike's here tonight. Maybe Mike can shed some light on that for me. I think Mike's still involved with St. Peter's and Trinity House, but that was a big concern of ours. LGH assured me that that's a concern of theirs, so hopefully we will be receiving information on that and trying to get those folks taken care of. That's what we know at this time, and like I said, as we receive information, we will get it out, and we have expressed to all healthcare organizations that we're open to doing what we can in Columbia Borough to bring them in and help set up whatever it may be and to get that information out to the public. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll all get through this. And that's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question. When we're talking about the care facilities in Columbia, is our home on the radar also? I heard, I saw a post that they seem to be really having a bad situation there.
I will tell you, I don't know, but I can guarantee you that they will, if they aren't on the list of health, of facilities, they will be tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, because.
We will double check that tomorrow morning. Yeah.
They're sort of a bad situation.
Yeah. And thanks for that reminder.
Yeah. I just don't want them to get forgotten.
You're right.
Alright. And next. Excuse me. Before I ask for a vote on this first one, is this ordinance 924 or 925?
It's ordinance 925, it's correct on the agenda.
Okay.
So I know it feels like we're a little out of order. 924 will come at the next meeting.
No, that's fine. I just wanted, because it's different numbers in different places here, and I was confused. Okay. Could I have a motion to consider ordinance 925 for the first reading for the vacation of Pleasant Avenue?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Fitzgerald and a second by Councilperson Littner to consider ordinance 925, the first reading for the vacation of Pleasant Avenue.
So you guys probably remember this one. This is right there at the towers. Mike Schilber's here from Arrow. If you have any questions, we've talked about this in the past. This will just, they now own land on both sides. So when we vacate this alley, they will take both sides of it, become all their property. Then they'll have plans to redesign their parking lot out there, which we're in the process of reviewing now. This step just needs to take place for them to move that forward.
Since this is a first consideration, do I read the whole ordinance?
I don't think
You don't have to.
I don't think you have to go through and read the whole.
Nope.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think, the fact that it's in there is, notice enough for everybody. that-
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I've not done it yet.
No, we're good.
No, you were good.
All right, does anyone have any questions or concerns on this? Like, you had signed up, is there anything you wanted to?
No, just here to
Okay,
keep an eye on. Thank you.
all right. With that being said, do we vote to advertise it, or?
Just vote to accept it on first reading and note that we will have it at the February 9th meeting for final action.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilperson Fitzgerald and a second by Councilperson Littner to acknowledge.
To acknowledge the first reading and schedule the hearing.
Acknowledge the first reading of ordinance 925 and schedule final action on February 9th, 2021.
Right.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Next, could I have a motion to consider ordinance 926, the first reading for the 2016 bond purchase proposal? And a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brevard and a second by Councilperson Kaufman to consider ordinance 926, first reading for the 2016 bond purchase proposal. Does anyone have any questions on this? I read through it all, and it looks as it was given to us.
Yeah, so nothing's really changed. Kyle's on there if you have any questions. Just for the public's sake, I'll announce this. We had our S&P rating done, and we stayed good. We're a AA minus, which is really good. So we got a good rating. As a result, they are confident that we're going to get a really good rate on these bonds, and once we get it locked in and say, we'll let everyone know, but we're really looking good to meet or exceed what our expectations were for this savings. Kyle, help you add anything?
The other thing I would add, and Heather kind of just touched on it, yes, this was given to us, this was reviewed by bond counsel, it was reviewed by our solicitor, the underwriter, finance, people as well. So all parties involved in the bond refunding have reviewed this, and made modifications leading up to tonight. Just want to add that, so everyone knows, if we look at it in depth, again, it was given to us, as a group.
Yeah, and there's 15 signatures needed.
At least.
At least.
At least.
And now, since this is the first reading, do I record the votes here as well?
We do this is one reading, so tonight, when you guys take this
Okay.
motion, we can sign everything, and then we turn it back over to them to finalize it.
Okay. Lauren, we're gonna need a roll call on this so that we can record, on here. Does anyone have any other questions on this?
What was the estimated realized savings with the refinance? Could you remind us of that?
All but $1 million.
It's just about $1 million, right?
Especially now, and with the, change in, with the low rate, it's gonna be,
Probably close to $1 million or around there.
Yeah.
We'll get the final numbers once they actually put it out there and sell the bonds, but it's looking really good and we'll do really well.
I think it's important to reiterate that for the
Yeah.
public.
So
why
it
we're
is
doing
a
this.
significant savings. I at this point, in talking to them last week, it'll be somewhere between $900,000 and $1 million savings to the borough over the life of this bond.
and the other good thing about this, versus what we have now, is the overall savings, but also the fact that the payment is level and it doesn't increase from year to year. So while it may look like the first year we're paying a little more, we're actually going to keep that same payment the whole way through. Not like now where we started out with a small amount and it just sort of ballooned over time. Are there any other questions or concerns? All right. Could we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Councilperson Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilperson Williams,
Yes.
Councilperson Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Councilperson Stevens,
Yeah.
Councilperson Littner,
Yes.
Councilperson Burghardt,
Yes.
President Zink.
Yes. All right, and that carries. I have that marked on the thing too, Kyle, so. All right. Next for the new business. This actually is kind of technically old business, but we'll do it here on the new business. Could I have a motion to consider authorization for enforcement of liens? I'm gonna block on that tax collection.
Yeah,
Not
just-
doing tax collection.
Yes.
All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Stevens. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Stevens, a second by Councilperson Burgard. Consider authorization for enforcement of liens. Yep.
So just so you guys remember, what we talked about at the January,
It was actually November 22nd.
November 22nd.
December 22nd.
December 22nd, just before Christmas then, regarding what we would possibly be doing to go ahead and enforce your, the liens that you have outstanding and some of the other collection of fees that the borough is owed, so that way you don't have those amounts sitting out there. So this would just be a vote to authorize CGA to start working on that and working with the finance manager to start working on those things and start to get those collected, hopefully.
Do you have estimated percentage? I know when you talked before, a lot of stuff was outdated. So that list that we looked at before, do you know what percentage?
There was only one or two, if I remember, that were that are out of date that we can't go back, that have expired. And one of those was a bigger one, which I mean, it's somewhere around $5,000 or so. But I think, if we work hard, we can get that list down pretty quickly, I think. Sometimes it's just people have forgotten about them. And if you write them, they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get this taken care of." And there are other, like we talked about, other ways that we can use to get those collected. But again, you guys, it would not be, there are no additional fees to the borough, I should say. You're right. Those are passed on to the delinquent ratepayers that haven't paid. So any collection cost will be included in their in their bills when they have to pay it all.
Does it make sense for us to make an announcement that this is going to be taking place, or maybe send a letter to those folks at
That's step one. He sends the letter out.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't involve that doesn't involve an additional cost to the person who has the
Gotcha.
lien.
So you're saying not a
Give them
debt
a
collection.
grace period, right?
Got it.
Let them get moving and do the honorable thing.
We could. We've announced that the fact that they were billed an invoice and didn't pay,
That's
it's
enough.
like anything else. If I have a late payment on a utility, you pay the late fee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully the first letter will stir up most of them to say, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to get charged again. I'll get it."
Yeah, that first letter is, and we're gonna, if you authorize us to do this, what we'll do is we'll sit down over the next week or so, make sure we have all our ducks in a row. And then what we'll do is bring that fee resolution that was in the back of that memo to you guys to authorize all the different fees for our collection practices. And then we can go ahead and really get cranking on it and get going. So that way, because that has to be in place first for us to say, okay, so if we send a collection letter, this is how much additional you're going to owe to pay this lien off at this point. So.
And is this just for liens, or will it also include the other aging items?
It absolutely will, I think, include, it depends on what you guys want us to do, but it absolutely can include those things as well. We can work on those, yeah.
Yeah, so we can get that aging report. I mean, at this point, do we really need something from 9 years ago that was a market stand rental?
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of.
And those are the ones we'll clean out.
Yeah, those are the ones we'll look at over the next week and say, is this really worth, going after? Is this just something we kind of write off and say, this is not worth our time and effort? So.
Be assured, though, that the current wastewater liens that we have were extensively worked on to be collected.
Oh.
All the letters that were sent are part of those files, and we as a staff did everything we could.
Oh.
We had to send certain notifications before the liens were even placed, and we had a good number of people. Council picked the highest ones, and we set up repayment schedules, and some of those were really successful. Some of them weren't, so the biggest ones are already collected. I think we whittled down to some that were smaller, and again, those files contain every effort that's been made at a staff level to collect those monies.
Yeah, it's just we have to make sure that we have every so often, we have to renew the leads and stuff,
Yeah.
So this way we're just buttoning up stuff.
Absolutely.
Is that like every 7 years?
It is actually every 20.
Oh, I thought it was like 7 years.
No, it's 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll get moving on that. All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Stevens and a second by Councilperson Brevard to authorize CGA for the enforcement of liens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Next, could I have a motion to authorize staff to sign the contract with Executive Image Solutions, Inc. to provide IT services for the borough? And a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brevard and second by Councilperson Kaufman to consider authorizing staff to sign the contract with Executive Image Solutions, Inc. to provide IT services for the borough. It's my understanding, and I'll let Mark take it over, but from what I could see in the paperwork, it looked like this is going to end up being a significant savings for us, so I appreciate that. That's one of the things that we had as a goal, and we continue to have as a goal, is relooking at all of the different contracts that are in place and all of our services that we've contracted out. So this looking at was part of that effort.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to do that and go through all of our contracted services to make sure we're getting the best quality service that we have. We just believe this is a good move for the borough. We got two very strong recommendations, one from a private firm, one from another municipality that also has a police department, and they covered them, and Chief Brommer checked in with them and got a very strong recommendation from their police chief as well. So we felt comfortable on those recommendations to move forward.
Could I ask a question about this?
Mm-hmm.
I know you had told me before that if it's under new business, that it's to be discussed tonight, and it doesn't mean we've known about it at all. But I'm questioning why these type of things aren't going to the work session first, because we used to always have them at a work session, discussed it, and then voted at the next council meeting. And I just wonder why sometimes things seem like they're a little bit, to me, a little bit rushed. And the contract, according to this, is effective February 1st. So, you know, I'm just wondering why, like I think the Gavin thing too was not introduced at a work session for discussion. And then we discuss it, and I feel as if we're kind of rushed to make that vote then. I'm just curious to know if that's a change that we're doing, that we're not taking these things to the work session and they're coming straight for a vote.
So the ones that I feel are important to take to a work session are major policy changes, or if there's changes in expenditures. These are operational items that we bring forward in a day-to-day management, but because it is a contract, you guys have to authorize me to sign these contracts. So, and I talked to Heather about it. Evan has reviewed the contracts as well. So that's why we move these things forward. It's nothing that we don't take everything to 2 meetings. It's just the ones that I feel like that are major policy changes or affects funding.
And I mean, this is a reduction in
This is a savings.
Right, I'm not opposed to reducing the amount. I'm just asking what the procedure is for things like this, because it's my understanding before that things were discussed at a work session, and then we had a week kind of to think about it before we actually would vote. But
well, that's the goal, but there are times where that's not always, like when you have something like this that's a contract with an outside company, when we already have someone contracted for that same service, that company we're already working with now knows, and if we were to put this off for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we could actually find ourselves in a situation where we have no IP coverage because they dropped us.
well, that brings me to another question though. Is there a cost for us to break the contract with the other company?
So I'll be very straight with this. We have to give them a 60-day notice to drop their contract. Executive Image Solutions is not going to charge us for the first 2 months while we transition to them and transition out of Easy Solutions. So there'll be no added cost to us at all for that service.
And they were actually then lined up in the event that Easy Solutions says we're done working.
Right, and they'll be, I'll send a notice tomorrow to Easy Solutions should you vote this way. And then they'll begin the transition with them to get all the passwords for the server and get everything that they need so they can, right when the contract starts, jump right in without a gap in service.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions on this?
Madam President, I have a question. Mark, with Easy Solutions, do they have, and I'm thinking about mainly probably our laptops and tablets, do they hold some proprietary software that we're going to have to make some changes with? Because I'm thinking about a problem I had recently, and they had the license for that particular program.
So, right, but when you transition an IT company like this, in my letter, I will send them all the stuff that, and I got the list from the new vendor, and again, should this be approved tonight, I know what to ask them for. They will connect with them and get all the information. This happens, this is not a new thing for these IT companies. They transition out of these places all the time. We're just trying to do it as efficiently as possible.
Okay, so
if there's anything proprietary, they'll pull them off, and this new company doesn't need anything, because they'll just have connections in to service us. As soon as all that's set up, and they've been vetted through the police, they're secure on the police side and everything.
Yeah.
We'll be working on getting all the IDs. Chief can run the backgrounds and everything, but they've already been vetted through and Chief, what's the right term for that? They've been vetted through what?
I'm sorry, ask your question again, Mark?
With the new IT company, I know you want to get the names and address of all the employees just to ensure that they are properly secured to do police work, right?
Right. It's part of our CREA, the Access Protect Criminal History Data.
That's it. Thank you, Chief.
yeah, kind of, being I'm a novice when it comes to IT. But what I was concerned with is, for example, our operating systems won't be down until the new IT group reloads. Our operating.
No, we lose nothing. That's what I'm saying. It's a seamless
Okay.
transition. That's what these next 2 months are for. And that's why they're not charging us, because they count that as their ramp-up time, so they can get familiar with everything, so that when they hit the ground running, they'll be ready to go.
Thank you.
Yep. They just need this time to get up to speed.
Because there's nothing physically at Easy Solutions.
No.
There are no servers there or anything like that.
No, everything's
Everything is here. It's just who's helping us manage the things that we have here.
Right.
Well, it's like who owns?
Yeah.
Who owns
Right.
it?
We own all the software, all our software licenses, everything. Yeah.
We own the licenses.
We own everything.
It's just, they happen to know the numbers well.
And when the new company takes over, they change all the passwords, they lock everything out. That's standard procedure.
Yeah. And Mark told me I was very happy about this, that the Executive Image Solutions is going to help organize the server room and get that straightened out, because that is a royal mess, and I have anxiety just thinking about a messy server room, so.
Yeah, and this is not a new company. They've been in the IT management business on the private and public side for over 30 years. So they have a lot of years of experience in doing this.
But it should be understood that this is basically a financial move, not so much a service move.
Right.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right. With that being said, I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard and a second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize staff to sign the contract with Executive Image Solutions, Inc. to provide IT services for the borough. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right.
Thank you all. We'll get that taken care of.
Good. All right. And yeah, it looked like it was close to $30,000 a year savings.
Probably. They don't charge a lot of the added stop-in costs. If it's a PC that they cover, whether they can fix it remotely or they have to come in, they cover. That's all part of their bundled cost. So we'll save a lot. The company does a lot of other things too. They do their own cabling work. They do, and eventually, if we want to expand our contract, like we talked about, going scanning, that's the majority of what this company does. Is they do document scanning and document management, image management. They do management of copiers, Kyocera, like we have here. So if we want to expand out and look at other ones as well, we can bring them on. But for now, this is just taking over the IT services.
All right. The next new business, I know this is not a year for the mandated reorganization, but as things have been as things change and everything, I thought this was a good time to look at what we have as leadership areas. And I think initially when these titles were put out there, it just came from the old committee structure. There was no more committees, so we just sort of kept those titles. I wanted to have a discussion to see if, well, first of all, people want to change their area, but second of all, I wanted to look at what we have and if it is actually meeting our needs. One thing I do believe we need to add is, like I said in my summary, I would like to see a communication leadership position. That position would assist in managing communications across all media, make sure that everything, our messages are consistent everywhere, coming up with ideas on how we can make that happen. And that person would also be the one that would be intimately involved with the process of branding and everything else that we want to bring together here to make sure, you know, we talked about getting a new the new logo and thank you, new logo and things like that. So that's what I see the communication person as.
We have Mark, who is our borough manager. We have Mayor Lopes. So between both of them, they're speaking for Columbia Borough. You, as well as the president, being the president, speak for the borough. Outside of that, I don't see where communication comes in. Mark directs people to control the website, the Facebook page. If anybody wants something added or needs something added, we direct it through Mark. This wouldn't be a committee, this would be an individual basically taking a role as, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean,
do you want to say that, you know, if I was in charge of communication, I speak for mayor, I speak for the borough manager,
No.
I speak for you?
No, what I say, if you're in charge of communication, you're gonna involve the people who we need to talk to with deciding on the logo and the branding and bring that back to council. You're gonna be the one that's gonna say, okay, this is where I noticed a deficit, we need to get this corrected. The same way that, you know, Fran right now meets with the
Public Works team.
The Public Works team and drives those things. I mean, I just think that, you know, we identified, you know, when we were running that there was a communication deficit within the borough, and we want to make sure that our message is the same across all platforms. And we're now getting more platforms involved, we need to make sure that.
And that is, and I appreciate what you're saying, that is what we do. I just didn't know if someone on council wanted to partner with us to kind of look at this, look over my shoulder, you know, bring it back up, talk about it here at council.
Correct?
What's that?
We also hired Gavin for this, correct?
They are to do just the airport. That's specifically what they're doing, but we want to keep this going. I think we're making great strides to improve how we communicate. And I just think to ensure that we're doing it right and it, you know, it can meet with someone on council to bounce ideas off of, and if we need to bring it back to council, we can. And again, just like we do with Public Works, like we do with some of the other economic development, we meet outside and then bring it back here as needed. And it's just such an important tool, and there's so many venues right now. I wouldn't mind having somebody, if one of you guys would want to join me and help oversee that, I would welcome that.
I don't mind helping you with the, let's start with one thing first before jumping in up to my eyeballs. I don't mind helping with the branding. That whole conversation, again, I think Jerry Musser would be an excellent fit for helping us design and create a good brand for the borough. He has deep, deep roots here. He's incredibly talented, and his work is showcased around town anyway. And he loves the borough. I would love to work with him and you to see that to fruition. As far as managing message, social media, and all that other stuff, typically, now I own an agency that does that kind of thing. But we typically remove ourselves from those activities outside of maybe some very strategic, specific, focused campaigns. We typically teach our clients how to do that and do that themselves.
But at this point, we are the client as the borough. And so rather than hiring an outside consultant to keep running with it, and I say again, communication is just very, very important across, and there's so many different platforms, and which ones we want to invest in, which ones don't we. Again, if you guys, it's your choice, however you guys want to do it. I just want to make sure this is not missed in any way.
I don't mind having a conversation with you and helping you,
Okay.
But here's what I don't want. I don't want to be the communications director for the
No, it's not it at all.
That's
It's
what I
just
don't
someone to bounce ideas off and talk to. Like I said, just like all of you have areas of expertise. You know, I meet with Sharon on personnel issues. I meet with Heather when we talk about some other things. I just want to make sure there's someone I can just touch base with to make sure we're on the right track.
I love helping with the newsletters and
Right, exactly.
all those kind of needs, those specific project needs.
Okay.
Love that. That's fun. That's great. That's fairly easy.
And that's really the extent of it, is to have someone who can look over, double check some things, bounce some things over. If we're doing a press release, hey, look at it. Did I miss anything? Did I capture what we need? Those kind of things.
Okay.
Typically, if I may, typically what I see in organizations is when you talk about communications, usually you see that married with marketing and communication. And when I look at Columbia Borough and the Columbia Borough structure, that seems to fall into, I don't want to speak for anybody, but that to me, that falls in the realm of economic development. If you recall the old structure of the committees, there was 3 people, 3 council folks on each committee.
Yeah.
And part of that reasoning, if I remember correctly, was if there is a committee and there are some subtopics that fall within that committee, those other folks who want to step in, and as you were kind of pointing to, Todd, I'm thinking about this, they can assist. It's not like one person does this and no one else gets involved in it. Anybody who wants to become involved, kind of like on an ad hoc basis, if you may, that person is the spokesperson to council and for council on that area. But there are other folks on council who, if they want to, should be welcomed in to assist, basically drawing on the expertise that a lot of you folks have.
Right.
So just some thoughts there. I think marketing and communication is important, and I think you need to take a look at it, but
I mean,
I don't know to what vein.
I will say this, one of the things that I noticed with going back the last couple of most recent years, and I think about what we're trying to do now, and all the things we want to accomplish, and I know we have staff that are supposed to handle things, but there comes a point in time where you are overworking the people that you depend on the most. And I think that in the past that may have been done to a detriment. And things, whereas we wanted to think people were able to handle everything, there were so many balls that things were getting dropped. And I think if we as a council are going to be managing the budget and everything else and be so money conscious, we also have to think that what that means is the more we're asking of our people, we have to be willing to roll up our sleeves and help, or else we're going to have to pay out money to hire more people to do all of these tasks. So either we're not getting things done, or we're gonna roll up our sleeves and we're gonna get to work to help to make it, to get it done. That's what it comes down to for me. And I figured everyone here was of the mindset that, you know, let's roll up our sleeves and get this done, you know, and do it right. And I mean, I think things are coming around, and I would like to see that continue. I would like to see, the areas actually mirror what they are. Like, Eric, I mean, I'm not picking on you specifically, but community development, that could be just about anything that anyone does. I would like to define that area more closely into what you are making it. Is it economic development? Is it a business, you know, local business liaison, or, you know, what area are you focused on? That, you know, so.
Can I speak to that a little bit? I was going to say, public works and property, especially the property and community development, there's a lot of overlap.
Right.
So I was wondering if they should be combined somehow, or take public works out and do property and community development. I don't know what you're thinking there.
Hello.
Yep.
Hey, I have a question. I just wondered, we all ran on transparency and communication. I think you're talking about communication. Is the go-to meeting advertised so people in town can join in?
No, I had not done that since we started opening the doors. I only ever had one person join on the go-to meeting, and they did not participate that way anyway. So.
But we do live stream.
We do live stream it, and the doors are open for anyone in the public to come in, and they are welcome if they do want to join with the go-to meeting link. They are welcome to call in. I mean, I publish that when I publish, I provide that, I try and remember to provide it as soon as the agenda goes out. But
Well, I'm on YouTube watching the meeting right now, and I see very little comments.
We're not on YouTube, are we?
Probably, it's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
I mean, Facebook, I'm sorry, Facebook. I'm looking at the wrong one. But am I correct that the meetings aren't on YouTube until it's over?
Yeah, we have to have so much content before we can use YouTube as a live, so we're building that content up.
Yeah, that's what I understood, yeah. So much to be able to do that.
You have to have 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000 subscribers to your channel, and then you can live stream to YouTube.
Well, even though somebody doesn't use it, I think the fact that it would be there for them to log on to the go-to meeting. There's a reason I'm not there tonight, and I'll tell you later, but, yeah, I think that would be nice if we would make that available publicly.
Okay, you can do that.
Thank you, Aaron.
Heather, to answer your question, I see community development as a broad spectrum. I've been involved with the different subcommittees that we have, whether it's zoning, planning commission, R/10. So on a residential area, I mean, there's things I'd like to do, but we're not there yet. And I have been in discussion about some things. On the business end of it, which I believe has to be a priority because Columbia needs the business growth to control their tax base. So that has been a priority for me in working with the businesses. So as far as community development, I look at both structure and plan. The plans that are futuristic coming at us and the current structure for today. I don't know what more you want from development. I heard some comments about housing, but I don't know that the borough can actually do anything with housing.
Well, I think on the housing side, it'd be working with Jamie, working with others to, not that we're gonna spend a lot of money, but just to partner with them and to, maybe it's through communication, maybe it's through some other programs that we can do to ensure that the best care is being brought in to ensure that our residents are getting all that they need. Kind of the stuff that the mayor was talking about earlier about looking at, getting the vaccines in here. I think there's works that government can do without spending a lot of money, just to partner and ensure the communication lines stay open and work with these agencies and maybe work with Jamie to get other ones in here if there's other agencies that we need to work with. We're talking about maybe doing like summer camps or even summer missions trips with some of the faith-based communities that come in and maybe do a week of working with some of our residents that don't have the means to do things and help them clean up their properties and stuff. And all of this, I think, helps improve both the physical image and people's pride in their community when we can start pulling these things together and get people involved in it.
If you look at you were talking about how housing is a very good example. Mm-hmm. We had an ad hoc committee on housing for several years that we worked through, and we've had several ad hoc committees. The River Park Steering Group is an ad hoc committee, even though it's been a long running. They're just put together with residents and they report to council. They don't make any decisions. They bring forth information and council makes the decisions. So you can create ad hoc committees of citizens to help you out that are guided, for example, by a member of council and reported back on council, and you can draw from this vast knowledge of people we have in this community and engage them on specific things that they are good at and that can benefit the borough. You're doing a lot of work. I know you're doing a lot of work with the Merchants Association, and that transition back and forth in that area in the businesses could be an ad hoc committee of community development, drawing on folks from the Merchants Association and whatever have you to come up with ideas and all that you can present to council to do. And you should look at creating those ad hoc committees.
Well, my whole thought with housing was, there are other concerns, like if someone wants to champion that, they can also, I envision, helping to look at the code to see what we could do code-wise, because we all know, we want to improve our housing stock, which means certain things need to be enforced. Maybe we need to look at specific things that we may or may not have in the code to see it, to see if that'll help. Things like that.
Well, Heather, when the Housing Steering Committee was working, the Land Bank Advisory Committee actually is a spin-off of the Housing Steering Committee that was working then, and it kind of spun off into, because all those folks, Lansing County Redevelopment Authority, that they were all part of that housing committee, and it's like that went, and we talked about codes, and we had the Third Street residents in talking about code things and all, and it kind of steered itself into the land bank, and maybe it shouldn't, or maybe it shouldn't have gone there, but it's been very successful. But that housing steering committee maybe should should be resurrected to a degree and brought back to include more than just a land bank and that thing, and looking at some of these other things.
So Jamie and I already talked about that, and that's one of the things we're looking at in January or February is recontacting and seeing how we can redo that group. And I'll be part of it. If someone on council wants to join me, you guys are welcome too, but we are looking at doing that very thing, Mayor.
Mark,
Yes.
the ordinance we talked about the other day that creates the Parks and Rec Advisory Board also has definition of committee responsibilities, the standing committees that we have in place. Maybe that's a good place to start to see what the ordinance says committee responsibilities are.
Well, that's something we have to, I talked to Heather. Yeah, I talked to Heather about that too. There's some of the old language of how we did things in the past that's still in our code of ordinances, and if that's not how we're doing it now, and we don't want to go back to that pure structure, we need to clean those up. And Evan and I have talked about cleaning up this language to look at some of these things, because it's a little antiquated, and there's some other things in there that we have to just make sure it reflects what we're doing today. So we'll go through and look at all those one at a time.
No, I just thought as a starting point that
Sure.
would be helpful.
Absolutely, thank you.
You know, the other thought I had was, Parks and Rec is an actual committee. We all have committees we're assigned to. Should it be the Parks and Rec leadership, or maybe that title needs to be changed to community engagement, because it's trying to bring people together, as opposed to the Parks and Rec. You know, I just would like to see the positions reflect what we're actually doing, and not just the generic terms that have been out there for years that no one, I want it to mean something. And I think that that's important. The more generic we are, the less people are willing to own what they're doing. And like I said, I think we as counselors need to be responsible to drive what is important to us and what we know is important to our citizens.
Well, you have a Parks and Rec committee, and you also have a property committee.
Right.
So Parks and Rec and property and is taking care of all your parks. You know, so
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
rec should be more
Community engagement,
right. So
because it's getting the
and the two should work together.
Right.
I have the facility, you want to use it, and here's how you want to use it. Okay, you need to work together.
Right, and I mean, a lot of these overlap, and that's why I said, you know, I would rather see the titles be more narrow and actually reflect what is actually being done.
I think
If
Pam
no one agrees with that.
I think Pam had a comment.
Oh, yeah? Pam?
Well, okay, go
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that in order to apply for certain grants, you have to have an actual Parks and Rec committee. I don't know, does anyone know if that's true?
Not true.
You don't have to have a Parks and Rec committee, Pam. You just have to show that you're actively involved in these. And I think the fact that we still have the Parks and Rec Advisory Board as a standing board really it improves your scoring on these grants. So we have that covered. I think what Heather and I have been talking about is, as we are looking at how the borough is changing, do we need to refresh any of these things? Because sometimes things, the same things have been on there a long time, and so it's just kind of challenging you all to think about, are there some new things we need to expand on? Are there some things that we've accomplished already that we want to look at new goals and really look 5, 10, 20 years out, and what do we really want to start aiming at, and what are some broader goals, and kind of stretch our thinking a bit. So maybe not all of it tonight, but keep thinking about these things as we move forward and bring forward ideas and thoughts of how we can improve things. And just kind of going back on the communication thing, I mean, as technology changes, other things change, can we start looking at better ways to communicate? emergency management coordination, communication that way, all those things. And Todd and I will work together on that to look at and bring ideas as we need to back, up to the council. But just keep thinking about how we can in the goals of moving this great community forward, are there some other relationships and other things and goals and things we want to do?
Can I just add several comments, kind of like all over the map?
Yep, go ahead, yeah, I'm all over the map too.
You talked about what does our structure look like as a council and the responsibilities as it might relate to Columbia Borough 5, 10, 15 years in the future. Let's look at other communities that are at the place where we are going to be or project to be 5, 10 years in the future. Let's look at their structure and maybe model after that. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Can we start there, maybe?
And in your areas of responsibility, do some of that research. I'll do some of it too, but my bandwidth is pretty tight right now. So if you have ideas you want to look at, you see someone else doing something in a good way, you network with some other community leaders, reach out to some other boroughs and other communities and see, hey, how are you doing this? Is there another way that you see if you've been successful in all this? We can look at all that because I have given and borrowed from other municipalities most of my career, and most municipalities like it because it works for them and they're glad to share it because it's been successful, and them sharing doesn't take away from their success, but it adds to ours. And as a region, the success of all of these communities benefits the region as a whole anyway. So things that West Hempfield does really well, it does help us. Things that Lancaster County does well, does bring things into us. So we have things that we have to do ourselves, but other big issues really are, beyond our boundaries and their impact.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, when I was at the NEMO training last I guess it was in February, and I talked about our rental ordinance, our quick ticket ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Until I left that training, I think I had sent that to 8 other people that were sitting in that room. And that was an enormous, it was the short-term rental ordinance. I had sent that to 8 other people. And I felt pride that our community could share with some of these other communities. So as much as they were getting out of it, we were getting out of it too, because someone felt that our solution would work for them and they wanted to model after us. But yeah, they also liked our quick ticket ordinance, and there was another one they wanted.
The 3-strike ordinance.
The 3-strike.
Actually, we adopted it. It actually came from Millersville because of the college, and after we enacted it, PSAB took our ordinance as the model ordinance, and it went all over.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah, so I mean, as much as we can draw from others, people can also draw from us too, but, I don't want to see us just do something because that's the way it's always been done. I mean.
That was the one thing. Other rabbit trail or tangent. It goes back to the discussion of committees. I was here when we did committees. Lots of good things about committees, lots of bad things about committees. Bad things first. Too many freaking meetings, man.
Right.
It was like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. It was really a pleasure to get it down to 3 or 4 meetings a month. Another bad thing about committees, which I don't think we're going to be looking at adopting anytime soon, is the creation of your own agendas and then the creation of your own minutes. You're trying to conduct a meeting while you're trying to take notes and make sure everything's accurate. And the time spent on those functions, these activities, just overwhelming and mind-numbing. So glad that that's not part of our responsibility anymore. Another bad thing about committees. Good thing about committees is that you had help. I was a chair. Councilor Novak was a vice chair. Then there was a member, and then there was an alternate. There was always 4 people on a committee that you could lean on talk about things amongst each other. I remember one instance in particular. Councilor Novak was in charge of, head of, chair of legislation. And at that time, there was a lot of stuff going through legislation. I remember him sitting here one day, and there's 4 people up here, 3 people up here, and I was an alternate back there. And he said, who's going to take this, who's going to take that, who's going to take this, and who's going to take that? 4 topics were handled by 4 people within that committee, so that it all didn't rest on that one person. And that was very, very helpful. Another good thing about being on multiple committees is that you really knew what was going on, had a broader knowledge of what was going to be talked about during a council meeting. I think that was another good thing. So I'm not saying that we should go back to committee structure, but maybe there are some elements of committees that we could maybe use, particularly multiple members under each lead heading, a lead, sub-lead, maybe an alternate lead or a member. I would love to be part, this is what makes sense to me, you're talking about communication. That really did fall under community development, and I was vice chair of community development with Cleve Bernfeisel being the chair, and these were discussions that we talked about.
Right.
And I handled some of them, he handled some of them. We talked about lights and Christmas trees, and we talked about websites and newsletters, and all those things. And we divided those responsibilities up. What I don't want to become, like I said earlier, is the communications lead and have all that stuff fall on me to make sure everybody's doing their thing. But what I would love to do is maybe be a vice lead for some, and help each other. And I think about this as well. This guy here has buku experience in emergency services. I admit to all of the emergency services that I deal with on a regular basis, I'm a novice. I am certainly not an expert. I do not have decades of experience in emergency service. I wasn't a fireman, EMT, or a policeman. I'm learning as I go, and I try to be helpful. It would be awesome to have somebody to lean on, to back you up, to have your back, to ask questions. And that is something that I thought very helpful about committees that I would love to see happen here, maybe, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think some of that happens now. Fran and Eric are looking at the Walnut Street and helping us flesh it out, and then when we were ready to bring it forward to the whole committee, we will. I think maybe some of this doesn't have to be with everything that we do, but on some special projects. If we see something like that, and we'll have more and more of them as we bring them forward, if you guys have interest, I would say let's do that. Let's get some teams together. Let's say in the next 5 years we want to, and Pam, I'll bring yours up. We looked at some things we want to do in our parks, and we realized some things aren't possible, some are. Pam and Fran can work together and maybe reevaluate those projects and some things we want to do, and work with me and Jake and our teams and come up with some ideas, and everything with the decision has to come back to council. So we can do it on a project level. The other thing I want to be sure on is the stories I hear, it sounded like so many of the council members were getting down into the operational pieces of what we do, and that's why we have staff. Mm-hmm. We don't want you guys to do the work per se. We just want to be able to call you and say, hey, we got some ideas. What do you think? And we bounce something off Fran on this. We got some other things going. And again, all of it still comes forward, but it's just that person for staff to go to say, hey, 2 of us want to sit down and talk to you about some ideas. I'll talk to Eric about some ideas. We meet on some things. And I think that works. And as long as not more than a quorum of you guys get together, it's not a bad thing for 2 of you guys to be talking, as long as no decisions are being made and the final decisions have to come back to council. That's allowed. So you guys can lean on each other. If there's an area of expertise, you have a question, you're allowed to call each other on those things, as long as, again, it's not as a quorum getting together, you're not deliberating and making decisions. So some of this can be informal. You guys can work together as a team. I think that adds strength to you guys as a leadership team here when you guys are working together.
And it's important, as we are working together, that we bring things here and make sure they are communicated back, because even though 2 or 3 may have talked about it, the rest may not be, may not know what's going on. So that's why the roundtable section is very important, so that we can talk about the different things we're working on, or that we've done. I just, one thing that, one immediate change that I would like to make with what our current structure is, and that is I would like to take over as the finance lead.
Does that fall under the reorg?
No, these are just the structures that the president and council sign, so it doesn't have to be under the organizational meeting, because it's not a president, vice president, pro tem position, so that's what you reorganize with.
Okay.
I've been intimately involved with all of the finance stuff anyway. This way I just feel like then I don't have to feel like I'm tiptoeing around behind someone's back to be involved in something, and staff doesn't have to feel like they're tiptoeing around someone because they call me, as opposed to calling Howard. So I would like to take that back over. Take that over. I am not opposed to continuing work on the legislation, but I will say I struggle. I'm really struggling. I know there are a lot of things in the code that need updated because they were never updated properly. It was, you know, they put out an ordinance to say we're going to repeal this, and they repeal it by ordinance, but then they don't scrub it. The rest of the code wasn't scrubbed out to remove different things. So there are a lot of things that need looked at and everything. I'm not able to adequately address all of that by myself in addition to finance.
But Heather, the code part, I'm just curious to know, wouldn't part of that have to fall on the staff here too?
Well, it does, but
Again, that's the meat and bones of it. We do. It's just I'll draft an ordinance. I'll right now I'm bouncing it to Heather. If Howard or someone else is going to take it, we'll bounce it over. We'll talk about it. So that council person is familiar enough to bring it forward as we talk about it. It's just, again, you guys are setting the policy and managing the budget. That's really your big responsibilities as elected officials. You set the policy and then you give me our marching orders, but it's just having that other person, like you're doing with personnel, like Eric does with finance, like Fran does and Todd does. You maybe attend a meeting, you'll meet with the emergency management people, you meet with Derek and I. So you're familiar, so when you bring things up, you guys can get more involved and speak intelligently as we bring these things forward of saying, hey, this is what it is. So if you want to sign it, Howard, if you're willing to take it, then I can meet with you. We can go over the ones that we're doing. You can be familiar with them. And then when we bring them forward, again, everything, the final decisions have to be done in the public meeting. So then we bring them forward and you guys all vote on them. But it's just having somebody to bounce ideas off and talk things through with.
right, like for now, I was just trying to go through the code to catalog all the places where dollar amounts of fines and or fees appear in the code, because we're trying to pull them out and put them onto the thing. So I was just trying to help out because that's a big task, trying to do that. The other thing that I had asked was, one of the things that we had talked about last year was publishing the list of what they look at a new tenant walkthrough. What does and doesn't need a permit. What needs a zoning permit, what needs a building permit, and things like that. So that was, my suggestion. Can we get working on that? And then,
And now we're doing it. We're getting those things
they're
done.
doing it, and then that would come back to me to say, okay, this is what I visioned, and then it would come to council. So You're not necessarily doing, like he said, doing all of the work, but you're driving what's going on.
Helping drive some ideas
Right.
and helping to guide as we move forward and do stuff, and then things that need to come back, we do. I'm just trying to, you guys ran and you got elected because you're passionate about this community. I want to make sure that you are able to bring forward the things that are important to you as a team.
Right.
So then would you be just more or less trading Howard for legislation for?
If Howard is willing to take legislation,
Unless somebody else is.
unless someone else is,
Is anybody else unhappy with their role or would like something
or
else?
would like a different challenge.
I know I would like to stick with public safety. Unless somebody thinks I'm incompetent and would like to oust me.
Oh, we could do a joust.
My mom went to the same place. That's crazy.
It's all them years next to each other. Any other further comments? Howard, your thoughts?
It's coming.
My laptop is rebooted, and I just missed 5 minutes of the meeting.
Did you miss that?
They installed something, I don't know. I'm back on now.
What did you hear
I
last?
tried to listen to them on Facebook, but I missed what you said.
What did you hear last?
Here, Howard.
No.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
I said I would like to take the finance lead back. I would like to take the finance lead.
Well, number one, I didn't know you had to begin with when you had legislation, but I didn't hear that part.
I didn't mean to say back. I meant I would like to take over as finance lead.
And legislation,
Would you be willing to take legislation?
no. I'm not as good as something like that like you are.
Then I'll keep it. I will need help though. Because I cannot do
Not only
it.
that, but I'm not here right there and have to run get my power cord plugged with that laptop back in.
Would anybody else be willing to take legislation?
I'll say this, there's a lot going on with the hiring of Sharon Sino. She is taking a lot of this, so it's not a lot of work, the day-to-day work. We have more bandwidth now to do that. It's just giving Evan and Sharon and I and anyone else who it will impact, just, again, somebody to bounce ideas off of. If we're missing something or as we're going forward, just to keep somebody in the loop. We'll do the work. Just looking for someone to bounce ideas off of on council.
Oh, and speaking of legislation, and one thing that, well, I'll bring it up in the next bullet when we review goals and stuff.
Yeah, and one of the other things that legislation can do if they want is help keep up with what the state's doing. You know, maybe sign up for the daily, here's what's going on in Harrisburg, and is there anything that impacts us? If it is, flag it and send it over, and we'll look at and see if it's something that we need to look at. So that's a ongoing thing that I try to keep up on with. It's just a lot to grab all those as they come through. So, you know, that's something legislation can look at. You know, how we communicate with our legislators. Do we want to, you know, have them come in now and then? Do we want to talk and meet with them? I think having a good, strong relationship with our state representatives is important, even in our federal ones. You know, being a point of contact with them. You know, go with me to those meetings. I think all that is healthy in building our connection here in the community, because we need our partners to do stuff.
Yes?
Just on a second note, the FEMA finance, working with Kyle next year has been a great experience. I've met with him quite a few times, been on the phone with him quite a bit, going over stuff. Colin has done a fantastic job for this borough. I made some suggestions, he liked them, he did them. And, you know, these guys are great guys. But, you know, finance, you know, I can sit here and say, here's December's finance report. But you know, I don't make decisions on finance, I just report it. Council makes the decisions on finance, what we're spending here and now. So, and you're better at legislation than, I think anybody on council would be.
Right. Does anyone, would anybody like to change their title of what they're doing? I mean, it's not something we have to say tonight. We can, you know, I mean, this isn't a vote or anything. This is the discussion. So I hope we would have done this in the work session, but
I think where I'll start is looking at some other boroughs, municipalities that are 10 years out from us right now. And you know what, Mark, I'm probably going to ask you, what does a borough 10 years out like us look like? What's the demographics? What's it, you know, point me in the right direction.
Sure, and we'll do some research together. We'll look at some things that others are doing, and for any of you, if you have some ideas of something you want to see or try, let me know. We'll work together and get them moving forward.
Yeah, I'm cool with public safety. I wouldn't know what else to call it right now.
Right.
But I would like to say this. Can I say this? I like the idea of an ad hoc committee, especially concerning the communications. Can I do that? Can I do? There's a lot of talent in this borough.
oh yeah.
A lot of.
And if we want to pull some citizens in, they're willing to work with us. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there are businesses, creative folks, people that do it for fun, do it for a hobby.
I think there's some businesses and some others we want to connect with. It's like we put the ad hoc committee together to help drive the comprehensive plan. I think that's always a good idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. If you had a group of 5 different people in the borough here that were professionals or enthusiasts and helped us keep you guys in a good path.
Yeah, and it gets more citizens involved in
Yeah,
things. I like
I
it.
just don't want to be another lead of
Absolutely.
a major thing.
Got it.
Yeah. Is that cool? Yeah. Does that mean I start recruiting, looking for I start the recruiting process?
Yes, absolutely. And have them contact me. That's just like, and again, using the comp plan ad hoc, which worked really well. We sat down, we talked about some people who had thoughts. We drafted a letter, we emailed it out to people, and they got back to Eric or Barb, and we put the committee together. And that's the great way to do it.
One thing one request I have is that I don't want to see us just keep reusing the same people over and over again.
Right.
Because,
what do you mean?
like, I don't want to just see this committee be a rehash of the comp plan ad hoc committee, or, you know, a rehash of.
The 10% doing 90%.
Yeah,
idea.
Right, I don't want to keep reusing the same people over and over again, because then it becomes them, and it's, you know what I mean? We need to drive this. We can't farm everything out to the same, you know, group of people. That's all, that's the only request I have.
Good.
Anything else on this topic? No? All right. Just wanted to take a quick review of what we had set last year as goals, and to think about, this is what we said we wanted to accomplish last year. Obviously, some of this may not have happened because of COVID. We seem to have had a huge amount of challenges that were unprecedented. But we did do some things that we did have as goals. Finance, we thrive to accommodate residents, provide good service to residents, gain tax base from land bank properties. We did that. find budget savings. I think we were successful in that, thanks to Mark and Kyle. And develop a 5-year CIP plan. I'm not sure what CIP is.
Capital improvement program. It's what we've been talking about, and it's in process. We had a lot of work this year. It's the 5-year plan to look at how our revenues and expenses are going to chart out over time. You project out and see how we can improve them.
Heather, can I take on?
Yep.
That's a 5-year plan.
Yes.
Do we have anything in writing about it?
No, that's what we're developing now, how we're trying to, we spent a lot of time just trying to get the budget healthy and get through this year with all the transitions. I think this next year in 2021 will be the year we take that to the next step and really stretch it out.
Thank you.
All right, public safety. Todd, we had the Enterprise Fleet Program.
Sure.
Which was a success. A solid plan with the EMC.
That is
I
correct.
think that's correct.
Mhm.
Enhanced safety committee interaction with public involvement.
COVID.
I know, right?
Yeah, really. One word.
Finalizing the fire police MOU, which we did.
Sure did.
We hired a CSA.
Sure did.
We replaced a police op. No.
We're in the process of that.
We're in interviews now.
That takes time.
We did replace the police doors.
Mhm.
Yep.
Private video security for enforcement purposes, borough-wide.
Yeah, those are the cameras that we have in and out, and that's a success. And if we have more money and down the road we want to add to that, but we have them in some key places. So yeah, I'd say that's a success.
Well, and the other, along with that, the police have joined on with the Ring Neighbors app
I didn't know that.
to work with the Ring network for people that have the Ring
You know
doorbell.
what? That was something that a resident came here about a year ago or a little
Yes.
more asking, can we
Yes.
bring
Mhm.
residential security systems into play to help the police? And
Right.
I didn't know that they actually, I gotta get up there.
Yeah, well, I saw it on,
Yeah.
I think it was on the Crime Watch one day or something. Officer Kaiser set it up and invited you to join on Neighbors. I joined, and in fact, that's where I saw about, the incident with the firearm from the vehicle on North 3rd Street the other day.
When was this agreement put into place?
Chief's on there.
Oh,
Hi, this is Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah, it's been about a month or two.
Okay.
So it's very recent.
Good. You know what, I'm gonna reach back out to that resident who brought that suggestion. I know it took a different form than he was thinking, but I think that he'd be glad to hear that something he suggested actually came to fruition. Thanks for sharing that.
yep. And then, roadway, keep in mind if you're looking at these minutes that were put out, they were done by an interim manager that did not realize it was Manor Street and not Manor Street. So, the Ridge Avenue between 11th and Stamen, nothing was done there. I mean, obviously, because COVID. Manor Street, whatever happened with that? Because we approved, like, the striping and stuff.
That's a PennDOT holdup.
Oh, that's a PennDOT.
So it's just, I was talking to Jake about it today. We're gonna work with them to get that done this year. PennDOT, with everything with COVID and everything shut down, just got so far behind they couldn't get to us. PennDOT has a great program. If they have extra time, and they usually do, they'll work with local municipalities to help with painting and line striping. So they'll come out. We'll work with them again to get it out this year.
Traffic studies, did we do any of these?
There's a traffic circle. I don't see traffic study.
Yeah, traffic studies, 5th and Maple, add a stop sign, Manor between 9th and 12th.
Yeah, 5th and Maple, there's going to be some stop signs and some signage placed there in the very near future.
Okay.
6th and Cherry is at the school park, and Jack and I talked about this just the other day, and that's one of those issues. No matter what you do, you're going to create another problem. Right now, it's kind of like it seems to be working until we figure out that there may be a better solution, or this does not work. It's going to be kind of like status quo for now.
Yeah, the traffic circle, that was dealt with.
Yep.
Ridge Avenue and 11th, I guess, Street.
Yeah. Think they're going. Jack, you said that you're going to put the speed radar out on that street to get better data to see if there really is a problem there. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have moved it around town to a number of locations. That is next on our list.
Yeah, it's down in front of the mansion right now.
The last two places were not according to plan. They went to answer residents' complaints. So the complaints took us out of the plan.
Yep.
Could I share some goals for 2021?
Well, let me finish reading here. Lots of street with no sidewalk, and the 462 bridge project, which is on track because that's PennDOT pulled up.
Is that on my list?
Yep.
So there seems to be different versions of this list. This is the one that was handed to me when I came on board. I don't know if there's different versions out there, but that was what was, I think it was probably talked about during that meeting, so.
Yeah.
I don't know which list you have, Heather.
I have the one that was in the packet from the beginning of January.
Oh, okay.
So.
Can I share my goals now?
Yep.
I'm really excited about this, can you tell?
Yeah, I am. I'm excited.
I can't wait, I'm just itching.
I'm glad you're excited. I mean, no one's been excited here to share
Wants to
things.
go. Aren't you feeling well?
I'm fine.
Enhanced EMS services, including QRS. That's being discussed right now, and I'm not going to go into the details of what that means or how it's going to be structured, but that's being looked at, probably going to be coming to fruition. Hires for the police department, as we know, those interviews, actually verbal interviews, just took place, and Jack shared with me that they got some really great candidates. So that's good news. Continued conversations on the traffic issues. Really looking to support Jay Barninger, our EMC, who's done a fantastic job on preparedness and training and coordination. We meet regularly with all the emergency services to have discussions about next steps, concerns. Great guy. Next one's coming Thursday at the fire department. Going to continue every year. What I want to do is talk to the police chief, fire chief, now Chief Rhino, and Mike Fitzgibbons at SVEMS about ordinances that we have that may need to be updated or changed, or new ordinances that we should be discussing to enhance public safety in the borough and make their job safer as well. I know that Mark has been seeing that the staff here continues their FEMA courses and getting educated in that. And I know that you guys also have the list of classes. I hope that you're getting qualified or certified in those areas as well. And I want to share this with you. During our committee meetings, every public safety committee meeting, a representative from each of the emergency services were here. And we'd have open discussion, old business, new business, the public could participate. And that kind of went away since we started this new structure. So what I'm going to do, what I would like to do, is right now we have the first regular session is kind of public safety. We submit the reports. If there's going to be presentations or something, I like to have them on that day so we all know what day it's going to be on. You guys tell me what makes better sense. At that meeting or at a work session, every month I want to have one emergency services provider, whether it be the police department, the fire department, or the SVMS, EMS service, come, be available for questions from council, give a quick report about where they're at, what they're doing, open to the public for discussion and questions and some interaction like we used to have. But we'll do one department each month, and that means that every quarter we get through our emergency services folks.
And that's what the presentation section of the agenda is for. If we need just a quick update, keep them short. I know that Hope and them got a little long, but they're excited about all that's going on there, and I think that energy is contagious. So that's why we want to have those. If anyone else has anyone they want to bring in, I think these are good times to really show and communicate out to the community what we're doing.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I'm done now.
That was good.
Parks and Rec, the mission statement was here. I think that was completed. The board had 2 goals: provide safe and fun parks and create a recreation program. I think we did the safe parks as much as we could with COVID. And the recreation program is still in progress.
Actually, we were prepared to begin construction of Locust Street Park, but due to budgetary constraints that didn't happen. And so we are focusing on more recreational activities. Right now, while our big project is on hold, our goal is to provide an event every month for the community to be involved in and to be as safe as possible. And we are sponsoring, of course, as you've heard, often the hemp fair on May 1st. So that is our biggest step we're working on right now.
And Public Works, we had 4 major goals to satisfy the MS4 requirements. We did that.
With the Shawnee Run
With the Shawnee
project.
Run. Continued through the 2020 roadway plan. I think we may have gotten a little behind because of COVID, didn't we?
Right, there are still some things to clean up from, like the 700 and 800 block of Walnut. We didn't really make a decision on 8th and Chestnut. We're talking about Sadie Lane and what we want to do there. We want to project out to 2025, not just prepare for this year, but go all the way through 2025.
Yeah.
What are our roadway projects?
Yeah, the guy was up measuring my alley this week.
Market House. Yeah. I would say one of my big things is investigate revenue generators.
Yes.
Either lease or sale of some of the properties that we've got.
Yes.
And also, the Borough Farm, I really feel like we could do so much more with the mulch, selling the mulch. We had some studies done on that a few years back, things that we could do to improve that, so I really want to work on that this year.
Yep.
Street degradation ordinance, I think is something we need to.
Yep, I was going to ask what had done, because that was on my list of things last year that I was supposed to work on, and then it just sort of died.
Yeah, that, I think I have everything I need. Derek and I had talked about it, and I think we just need to kind of get on that, and get that taken care of. But we have worked through some of the stuff on that, so that should be coming here shortly, I would expect.
Yeah, we seem to have to do a lot of putting out fires last year. So those kinds of things that were not emergent sort of fell by the wayside.
But not lost, and we have a tracking list, and Evan and I just went down through the first list, and it's good to see and be reminded, like we're doing now, how much we have done, and then, keep building this list as we go forward.
Yeah, and we did a heck of a job generating revenue with the farm last year. I mean, we got to keep that momentum going. I mean, people want to drop their stuff off there. They want to take what we have, so let's do it. I think that was good, and I saw you sent the email. Mark and I talked this morning, and I said one thing that I had brought up during the budget was the need for increased trash removal at the parks in the times that they are in place. I wanted to get working on a solution for that before we get to the point that the parks start to be used. So Fran, you sent an email to Jake, and he's gonna talk to River Valley, and we're gonna see what we can do out there.
Right.
My solution was if the issue is getting a can with a bag, and the only way take the trash if it's in a bag, well, let's just get a toter that doesn't need a bag, that they don't have to touch, because they can just hook it up to the truck and dump it. And that way we eliminate that whole people are stealing our bags. But that way we can hopefully keep the parks cleaner.
One of the goals from last year under Public Works too was to pursue the grant, the $30,000 grant for the engineering study for Phase 3, which we have now gotten all the work done. We've gotten all the letters in, and Hope and I being able to work with DCNR and the National Park Service simply extended the current grant, and they modified it so that the grant that we currently have stays open. We are able to collect on the remaining money of that, and then work now on developing a scope of work for the study of Phase 3 out there. So again, it's just getting everything queued up so that when we're ready and able, we can move forward on looking at expanding the improvements to the River Park.
And then the Walnut Street project, we're also working through that.
Yep.
One thing I would request, if you can put on your radar, as there is time there, if there is time, we talk about the street signage updates, but I also think I was sort of inspired when I was driving around the other week, and I noticed one particular intersection had two portions of the curb recently painted. If we can get that in the sites, that when they have time, they're working on, maybe one intersection at a time, and they do all four of the corners on there or something like that. But, that goes a long way in sprucing things up, making it look good. And it also helps with parking and making sure people know where they can and can't park. Anything else? Community development, Eric, you had the comp plan, which we thought we were ready to finish up, but as it turned out, we're just starting.
That's actually pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, so now it's going. No, last year this time, we thought it was just about done. It was ready to be done, and little did we know.
Right.
So it is moving now, and we're in a good place with that. The Walnut Street north to North 3rd, that plan is progressing. The 462 lighting project, that's been taken off the table. It's sort of being combined into the.
Well, it's
more-
something we're still talking about. We think we have a
Yeah.
good plan along Walnut Street and some other areas, and, you know, looking at some key intersections, so I think we'll do well utilizing the lights that we bought, and then we will always need additional ones, so, you know, finding a complementary style that will match that and complement it in the areas where we need shorter lights, and I think it'll look really good, and it's gonna create a new theme kind of downtown.
Yep. Codes department, I think that is I mean, that's in progress. We're working on all of those different items. The zoning definitions were they finished?
No, they were not.
No, so Sharon has those as well, and she's starting to work on those among some of the other ones, and she's doing some cleanup. I gave her some priorities on that, cleaning up some of the existing ones that we know are issues right now.
Harb and redevelopment, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Okay, all right. McGinnis property again, all options has been thought about.
So we're working on that, and the other thing with Harb, I think in the end is that we now have a new Harb board. We're able to put that back together, and have explained to them, and thank you for those of you who came out to that first meeting. I think they really understand that this needs to be an education board, and, you know, work with our residents, and, you know, we found a great resource in Chris Borough. Sorry, it's late. Just the wealth of knowledge that's at the Columbia Historic Preservation, and how much information we can glean from there. One of the big exciting news I was going to mention in my manager's report, but I'll say it now, is that they have a lot of the original survey data from all of our properties, and they have a lot of photographs of these properties. So when you know, a resident wants to know, hey, what did my house look like? What was it in? It's a free service they provide. You can go down there and look up your property and see. So I think that's I committed to really working on the historic preservation area of this town, and I think we're making great strides to really, you know, make it an education tool, and we're working on the ordinance so that we get back into what this state enabling legislation will be, and I think that puts us in a good spot. So I think that's a great step forward on all that.
And the website is finished,
Mm-hmm.
and
it's a never ending.
It's never ending, and we knew that it was going to be never ending, but doing a good job on that.
I think, and I'll talk with Todd. We'll keep looking at ideas of how we can keep making it better and better.
And work closer with the redevelopment authority, EDC and CEDC. I think we have good communication with them now.
I think so.
And we're going. For me, repeal legislation that isn't enforceable and enforce everything the same across the board, move from reactive to proactive, and eliminate the stuff that is not needed. I'm glad that we're still moving in this direction, and we're still we're pushing forward on that. The street cut ordinance update, we already touched on that. Explore ways to increase revenue. I think at this point we're, you know, with COVID, it's been tough. I realized that we can't do a non-resident earned income tax, we can't do a hotel tax. I mean, things that I had hoped. Again, I had talked about weaponizing the citizens, weaponizing the codes department against each other. You know, that goes back to the enforcing codes uniformly and equitably, and that's still a work in progress. All the other ideas were there. Be stricter on rental properties with maintenance. Like I mentioned earlier, I have reiterated the fact that we would like to see the information be published on what we're actually looking for at the different points of inspections and things like that, so that people know what's expected of them. Personnel. Oh, I have, there was a goal to find out the total number of employees,
Yeah, we did.
and that was done. Departments need to continue to run efficiently with no additional employees. In fact, a lot of times they have run efficiently with actually less employees as people have been out and so forth. The appeal board that question's been answered. We did select a manager. The employee manual was completed, but it is.
But needs some work, and we need to
still
get back
needs
on
some
that.
work.
Yeah, I did read it, make notations that I went.
So that's on Sharon and I's list to get together, and when we meet, we're gonna start talking through those.
Yep.
Seems like
Yep, I know, right?
we're getting there now.
So, I mean, as a whole, I think we did okay considering we had some pretty significant challenges last year. I think we have a good place to go. For the February work session, I put on there that I would like us to really start tackling the parking solution and start talking about that seriously, make decisions and get that moving. There are several places that it looks like we may actually be able to gain parking spaces in the downtown area. So that's wonderful. I have Mark looking at those to see when we can do that as well. So I think we're in a good place. Does anyone else have any other things on the goals and priorities or anything? No? All right. Presentation and acceptance of reports. Eric, anything? Nothing. Howard, finance.
Yeah, thanks, President Singh. Yes, I just want to mention before, recognize the December finance report. A fantastic job that Kyle has done. A lot of people don't see what he has done. I have, and I think he did the borough a great service as far as I'm concerned. So, Kyle, I recognize your finance report for December. You want to say anything?
I think he's off now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
he got through the bond stuff, so he's here. I'll make sure that gets passed along.
Okay.
Oh, and I wanted to mention here, because I saw them in here, that I now have to sign. Last time we voted on these tax certifications,
Yeah, we see the signatures on that.
and it bothered me that none of us here at the table knew what these were. So I kept asking questions, and I now understand what they are. These are ones that if a property tax, if a tax bill goes out in the middle of the year for whatever reason, say a property gets reassessed and so they have to issue a new tax bill or something, that's considered interim. And if the interim tax bill was issued from September to December, it's not considered delinquent until the following January. So they have a year and 3 months before it's considered delinquent. So that's what this first small thing was. It was the interim tax bills from the end of 2019 that would not technically be delinquent until the end of 2020. And the other ones are the delinquent tax bills that were, the interims, the ones that were sent out in the first couple, not necessarily the ones that were billed, all the ones that were billed in January, but if they were interims issued after January, before September, they would also be in the second pack from 2020. So that's what they were. Not sure why they were never brought before council before, but now we all know what they are.
But they're all unpaid, not truly delinquent, both packs?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Which they, unpaid and delinquent is,
Two different things, really.
well,
Because they're not considered put on a delinquent list until they're beyond the part where they're, right, unpaid.
when they're past the due date, they're delinquent.
Yeah, whether they're 2 years delinquent or not, yeah, as soon as they're past the due date, they're delinquent, yeah.
So why are some called unpaid then, just because they're not?
That would be, you could have that situation where before the due date, if someone still hasn't paid by the due date, they would be unpaid at that point.
Okay.
And then once they go past the due date, then they're considered delinquent.
Okay.
That's always in any situation where you have, like, for instance, water bills or sewer bills or stuff like that, sometimes you can get a little bit, it can get a little bit hairy when you have those aged receivables, some of which are technically, they haven't been paid yet, but they're not due yet. So it makes it look bigger than it is, which I think is why they probably break it down into those two categories.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I just thought that was important for us to understand. I have nothing, Parks and Rec, Pam, any reports or presentations? I don't think she's heard.
Or things on, but there's no sound coming through. I don't know what happened.
I can't hear. Personnel, I mean,
Okay. I would like to announce the resignation of Kyle Watts as finance manager. We are advertising now for a new finance manager. And I would echo what Howard said. I believe Kyle has provided an excellent service to the borough, and he has always been extremely patient and kind with the numerous questions that I have bombarded him with since I got sworn in. I had lots of questions for Kyle, and he was always very professional and patient, and really gave me good explanations so that were understandable.
And
So
on that,
I'm
I'll
going to
just-
miss him.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job. I'm sure you're going to announce this about a temp, but he's working hard to leave this place in a great shape. He's got a lot of things very well organized for us, so it's not difficult for someone that's come in behind him and take over. And talking extensively to Kyle, this is a promotion for him. He sees it as a career move, so, and I can't fault anybody for trying to improve their careers, so.
Okay, and also, we have hired a temp to fill the accountant position. Her name is Amanda Lubold from TriStar Staffing.
Right.
She has accounting and bookkeeping experience and will be full-time temporary for 3 months, at which time
We can decide either to bring her on if she's doing well, and so far, I mean, she's picking things up very quickly. We're very excited to have her on as filling the gap. I'll say this, our staff rallied around it like they do, and we had a gap, and the admins who know how to do AP and AR and payroll, they're all like, what do you need me to do? We're gonna help out. So we had a backup plan, and we're still working on backup plans, but we were covered. There was never gonna be a gap, because that's what our team does.
Thank you, that's all I have.
all right, Councilperson Fitzgerald.
Thank you. The Market House project, although there's still some small punch list items that need to be completed, we did get the certificate of occupancy, which is the official green light to proceed. We're committed to finding quality vendors. We have a small group reviewing the applications. And so far, we have 11 on board and several more to go through. So, very exciting.
Yep. I was down here the day they did the certificate of occupancy walkthrough, and it was just a buzz in the air and a flurry of excitement. And, it was pretty, I think once the inspection was done, we all sort of cheered and, breathed a sigh of relief. And
Good news.
yeah, hold on, we lost, I think it's,
Is the phone dropped off?
yeah, I think the phone dropped.
Please enter your access. To enable audio control.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry, guys.
You have to start over.
What are we doing?
Safety, Councilperson Burgard.
I have nothing, thank you.
No.
Do you want to jump back to Pam? So
Yeah, Pam, Parks and Rec. Anything?
Parks and Rec is sponsoring a romantic stroll through Lowe's Street Park on February 13th, Valentine's Day weekend, and it's a low contact opportunity to take pictures in the gazebo, and there's an opportunity too to purchase stars commemorating your love life, I guess. So, you'll find more information on our Facebook page, Fran. Is that where?
There's several sites that have, Allison Leapgott has kind of taken the lead on this, and she's publicized it on many different Facebook pages.
So, yeah, save the date and more information to follow.
Evan.
Not too much to report tonight. As Mark mentioned, though, we had a meeting this afternoon just before the meeting to go over our goals for kind of the first quarter to maybe half of this year, depending on how things go. And so we have a list of projects that we're going to keep working on, and we'll go from there. And I've kind of made it a personal goal this year to get you guys status reports before every meeting. There's a lot of stuff that goes on kind of in the background here, but I want to make sure that you guys are kept abreast of everything. So I'm going to try to deliver that at least a couple of days before the meeting. That won't go out in the public packet, obviously, because some of that stuff is attorney-client privileged. But I want to make sure I do that for you guys. So I'm going to try to start that at the February 9th meeting, so you're a little bit more aware of some of the things that are going on here. So.
Secretary Treasurer.
So a long list, but I'll go through this quickly. We've talked about this in the past, and Evan and I have discussed it. Starting at the February 9th, we're going to kind of flip a little bit of how we pay the bills. This is the first community I've ever worked in that, as an action item, you don't authorize us to pay the bills. You just get a list of the bills that we've paid. So we're going to flip that, and starting February 9th, you'll get a similar list like it's in your finance packet now, but there'll be an action item to authorize staff to pay those bills. And I think that's the appropriate way to do it, so that you guys have that oversight of the bills coming. And if you have questions on any of them, if you're looking through, you have something, that's your chance to ask those questions, and we'll go through them for you. So I think that's a positive change. Two, as you guys have probably all seen, but I'll announce here, we have reopened our lobby back to our standard hours now, because staff is back on, and we feel like we can we can do that and serve the public. So the lobby's back to its normal hours, and we've put that out on our Facebook page and the website and on the TV out front. So we're back to our normal hours. I know there's been a lot of discussion regarding the parking signs on South 2nd there and Cherry Street. We've asked Jake to go out, and he's removed those signs now. So we work with the church; they're aware of that. So those signs have been taken down, so the residents can now park on both sides because the school isn't there anymore. So that provides more parking in that area, in that neighborhood, and I know that the residents down there appreciate that. Tied to that in a similar vein, as you guys know, we leased the parking spaces there behind the CenturyLink building. There's always been a lot of confusion on can people park there, can they not park there. So Jake has erected signs that it's permit parking only. We're working with CHI right now to make sure that the cars that park in there have that hanger so that the parking security can go down there. And so right now, just as a courtesy, they're sweeping through the lot and just letting people know that, in 2 weeks, they'll start getting tickets if they park there because it is a lease lot. And Jake and his team are removing the parking meters down there, so there's not that confusion of, hey, there's a meter here, why can't I park here, it's bagged. I admit that's confusing, and we even found some signs out there on 3rd by the alley that said public parking and pointed people down that way, and then there was more signs put up that said that. So we've taken all those down now to remove the confusion, and Jake's going to put the public parking sign going down Locust and direct people to the Locust Street lot, which is a public lot. So again, trying to improve the communication with everyone. Kelsey and I met, Kelsey Miller, and they said they really need those coming in March. So because they're leasing and paying for them, I want to make sure they have access to the lots they're leasing from us to use. So we've taken care of that. I will say I had a fantastic meeting with the new superintendent of the school district, Ashley Rizzo. I think she's going to do a great job for the school district. I know she has some other meetings coming up. If any of you want to meet with her and get to know her, I would say reach out to her and say, hey, I'd like to stop by and say hello. She has this fantastic attitude of, I want to be part of this community, and she and I have agreed that we're going to meet together monthly now and just touch base to make sure that we're coordinating and talking and things that she's doing that impacts us and things that I'm doing that will impact her. We want to make sure that line of communication is as clear as possible. And one of the things we talked about is declaring a snow emergency, and she coordinates with the other superintendents, and she'll make sure that the mayor and chief and I are aware of it so that if school's going to be delayed or something, that we're kept in the loop. So I think, again, just improving that relationship and improving communication there is moving forward. Tom did a great job. Tom and I had that similar relationship, so it's just rebuilding that again with the new superintendent, and I think that's a positive step forward. We've talked about the new HAR board, but I just wanted to mention the great resource that Chris Vera is, and exciting to see that we'll keep moving this forward. We've talked about some ideas. I know that when I got some notes from the previous HAR board, they had some educational pieces they wanted to work on and bring forward. So we're going to keep that vision going and make sure that information's on our website and work towards educating the residents in that district of why is historic preservation important. So they really want to keep that vision going and move that forward. I think that's a very positive, exciting step. And finally, we've talked a lot about the CARES Act funding. I got an email from Commissioner D'Agostino on that, and just so everyone is aware, the county has made the decision to distribute the full amount of money to each municipality that we were eligible to get. So rather than going through the litany of all the invoices and everything, we'll get our full distribution. So I can announce publicly that we're getting $128,740 from the CARES Act funding. So no longer do we have to track our receipts and everything. We'll get our one lump sum, and they're giving it to all the municipalities. And that's just a great gift to us, because there's been a lot of expenses and even some of the ones that are truly hard to track that have cost us. So that goes into this year's revenue account, and that's a win for us, and thanks to the county for distributing that money. So that's what I have for tonight. Thank you.
Upcoming meetings, the River Park Advisory Committee is at Columbia Crossing on the 28th. Yeah.
No, we're actually, we're gonna do it out there, and Charlie's supposed to be sending the announcement out, but he hasn't already. They like meeting there because it's where we're in the place where we're talking about. And I've talked to Hope that eventually we're gonna, we can take our camera down, put it on, and we have the stand, and we can live stream from down there eventually. So we're gonna keep meeting that's what we advertised it as when we did the ads, when we saw that. So we'll keep all the meetings down there.
And the approved minutes in your packet are the Civil Service, Parks and Rec, and Planning Commission. Borough Council comments. We'll start off on the phone. Councilperson Stevens, anything?
Yeah, thank you, Heather. One other thing was on the go-to meeting, while we were on, I was in contact with a resident, just to check to see whether or not they're being able to hear the meeting. And they wanted to know about Zoom. I don't know what we're doing, but I asked him if he heard anything from the people from Columbia Crossings, and he said he couldn't hear a word. And I asked him if he could hear me, he said he couldn't hear me. So I had to go back and listen to, rewatch the meeting tonight, but I will, because I just don't rely on one person, but I don't know why they said they couldn't hear. I'm just saying, that's all.
Okay.
All right. Pam, anything?
No, not now.
All right. Councilperson Brevard.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilperson Fitzgerald. Councilperson Kaufman. Councilperson Lerner.
Yeah, I just have one question, and maybe Mark, you can answer this. Who on the new HARB board will be writing the reviews for the properties that come for review?
So Sharon Sino, our staff person, is writing the reviews. One of the things she has now is when she prepares them, she'll be talking with Christino and seeing if there's any other information. Did she get it right? Is there any new information that he would have to provide? And then the board itself is 5 very knowledgeable people. They know what they're doing. So I feel very confident that with the information, the foundational information that we provide to them, plus the board making the decisions, they will make a good recommendation that will come to Borough Council for final action.
And who did you say she's talking with? Chris Vieira?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Christina.
Chris Vieira, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think that we'll have a good representation coming forward with all the information. And as always, the applicant really is the one who needs to defend their application before the board and you all if necessary. So that's their role, to make sure that they can provide the justification for what they want to do to that board.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I had a couple of reminders. I'd like to remind all counselors to complete the financial interest form and return that to Teresa. If you didn't grab it, it's in your mailboxes. So make sure that gets done. We want everyone in compliance. And for the residents and also council, the Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority sent out a link to a survey. They want as many people to give them input as they can to frame how they're going to serve our communities, the greater Lancaster County community, in the coming years. So please go on there, take that survey. It takes like 2 minutes. I did it. Do that. And finally, I didn't think I was going to be the one to say this, but I think it is worth noting for everyone to know that our chief, Borough, was
yes, I'm so sorry.
appointed the president of the Lancaster County Chiefs of Police Association. That is a huge honor and is a huge testament to our chief. And he left before we could even acknowledge him.
I'm so sorry.
Mayor, please pass on to Jack that we did recognize his news at this meeting. Okay, because I think we are all, I mean, we've all said privately, you know, we're proud of him, but I want to publicly say we are proud
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
that he was given that honor. And with that, could I have a motion to adjourn? And a second. Oh, wait.
It's done. It's done.
We are going to adjourn to an executive session to discuss an employment matter. But I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second, who's second? By Councilperson Vergara. So, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, seconded by Councilperson Vergara, to adjourn the meeting at 9:48 p.m. and adjourn into executive session to discuss an employment matter. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that is a wrap. Meeting adjourned. All right. Stop the.
So, yeah, I did.
Okay.
So, we'll